to be able to just make a choice on your own and just be able to speak for yourself.
This one's wife. Lemonada, no, she is a joke person. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. You know that this one's wife is a joke individual. I know it also. I detailed last week the fact that what we're looking at is a woman who is a mediocre actress that once ran a blog and was able to provide sexual services. That's your lot when it comes to this one's wife. She's not a broadcaster, she's not an author, she's not a presenter, she's not a brilliant content creator, she's neither a philanthropist, charitable champion, or politician. She's simply a woman that got into the acting game, was mediocre at it, was not setting the world alight, ran a blog which had a degree of success, nothing out of the ordinary though, and then when options started to become diminished, she was fortunate enough to somehow ensnare the Prince of Pink Pancakes. After that, she's become internationally famous and gained considerable wealth. Much of it, naturally, unjustified. Nevertheless, that is where she finds herself, but also ridiculed by millions, even many more people completely disinterested in what she is. But she'd been able to get the deals for Spotify, for Netflix, and also for Lemonada. Last week it was announced, to again much ridiculed, that the forthcoming podcast series, which is in the can, will be called Confessions of a Female Founder. Naturally, this provided great opportunity to laugh at the fact that she hasn't founded anything and that she isn't a successful business person. But it also highlights an interesting point that Lemonada think that she is a joke person also. How do we know this? Well, I decided to have a word with my PR expert to invite her observations about Lemonada utilising this one's wife and what she thought about it all. Did she see it as an excellent move by this one's wife, which would see her perhaps achieving some success through podcasting, and that might be a route that she could then go down? Or would it be another failure to add to the list of all of the other failures? And what about Lemonada's role in all of this? What were they thinking when they decided to sign her up after she'd been described as a fucking grifter by Bill Simmons? What was their motivation for getting involved in a beige individual who has become increasingly unpopular? Might they be regretting the day that they decided to ink a deal with her? Or is there more besides it? Did they think, we're getting a brilliant and incisive presenter who will bring many interesting people to the podcast and will get lots of views? Or did they have an alternative view as to why they signed this one's wife up? Well, interestingly, the clear view is that Lemonada view her as a joke person. Here's why. My PR expert explained that it's absurd for her to launch a business podcast when she's never successfully built a business. Also, it's quite clear why nobody will take her seriously, and it's also a given that we will likely die of boredom listening to the same 2.5 women who still talk to her, conveniently female founders like Vicky Tsai and Tracy Robbins. My PR expert actually said this is a true PR masterstroke. Not by this one's wife. No, by Lemonada. It's a well played for Jessica and Stephanie. Think back. A year ago, had anybody even heard of this 5-year-old company? Sure, it's a well-run startup with solid credentials. It's steadily gaining momentum with hosts like Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Sarah Silverman. But in a media landscape dominated by giants like Spotify and Netflix, Lemonada remained a hard-working, well-oiled, but relatively insignificant player. Now, by strategically inserting Confessions of a Female Founder between Netflix's disastrous With Love Meghan and its hastily repackaged Season 2, which, as we all know, is just the leftover scraps of Season 1, Lemonada has secured a global hit. Guaranteed. Not because of This One's Wife being a brilliant presenter, not because This One's Wife will ask incisive questions or have enlightening conversations, not because This One's Wife is going to allow people to realise what a brilliant business mind she's got. No, because it'll be so catastrophically bad that everyone will want to witness the train wreck firsthand. And unlike a TV disaster, a podcast disaster is much, much cheaper to produce and easier to digest. You can listen to it while you're cooking, driving, running on a treadmill, or even with your head in the toilet, eyes closed, actively vomiting from second-hand embarrassment. Fiona Harold, a PR veteran of 25 plus years, told The Mirror, "This One's Wife's new podcast is a smart move. She's shifting the focus away from herself to other women and their journeys. She's being consistent in her commitment to female empowerment. By using her platform to give a voice to other women, she could be inspiring women everywhere." My PR expert wholeheartedly disagrees with that approach. She says, that's absolute nonsense. This One's Wife isn't shifting focus away from herself. After all, why would she? She's a narcissist. It needs to be about her. If she was shifting the focus elsewhere, it would be called Confessions of Female Founders, not Confessions of a Female Founder. She's centering herself yet again, as we expect of this mid-range narcissist. She's using other women as props to elevate herself. And Lemonada knows it. But here is where they play their cards brilliantly. They're giving her just enough rope to hang herself while standing back and letting the PR storm work in their favour. Imagine the goldmine of ad revenue. Many people will tune in, not because they're expecting wisdom, but for the comedic value of yet another self-inflicted PR disaster. Compare that to Netflix, who poured millions into her and got nowhere near as much in return. Lemonada, on the other hand, scooped her up at a Black Friday discount, and they don't even need to promote her. With Love, This One's Wife serves as the best and most expensive commercial for their podcast. Netflix has learned the hard way. Their PR strategy is now active damage control, which is probably another sign that they've washed their hands of her. They allowed her to announce a Season 2 mere days after Season 1 bombed, rather than waiting until summer to pretend they were happy with her work. If they truly backed her, they would have filmed the announcement strategically for some time in August to create the illusion of renewed investment. They didn't, because Netflix are done with her. Lemonada, on the other hand, is playing 4D chess in PR. My PR expert sees what they're up to and loves their game. In fact, she'd like them to come and speak to her postgraduate students about this case study. Lemonada knows full well that This One's Wife is a joke person. They know full well, in the way that they've done this, that she's got no credibility, that people laugh at her, that people ridicule her, that people are not interested in her insights about being a female founder. They will have an interest in her because she is a spectacle. She is a disaster, a walking disaster, an atrocious, self-absorbed presenter, which will just provide people with more car crash entertainment. And once those people have listened in, Lemonada will then be able to introduce some of them, even many of them, to other actual quality content from their talented hosts. This is the Bulgakov's heart of a dog moment for This One's Wife. Standing centre stage with her balaklia. She's thinking she's dazzling a room full of intellectuals with her genius, while they're really just watching a bitch with a balalaika in bemused horror. And if you think that she's the only freak act in town, don't worry. She's going to be joined by a colleague who is Mr. Dylan Mulvaney, also known as Adult Male Dressing Like a Schoolgirl, who'll be debuting his own Lemonada podcast this spring. no doubt sipping Bud Light in a bubble bath. Lemonada recognise that this one's wife is useless. Lemonada know full well that she's crap. They've not hired her because she's going to come and provide meaningful insight. They've not hired her because they think she's going to blow the world away with her incisive questioning of these female founders. They've hired her because they've seen that she's a joke person. She's become more prominent as a joke person. They're relying on people tuning in because it's easy to do so, and it'll provide plenty of people with huge entertainment at how useless she is, and they don't care about that. They won't have paid her a huge amount of money, and they're just simply using her as a joke person to get their name known. And it has become known, because beforehand, if I asked you, have you heard of Lemonada Media? You go, no. Now you know about them. And you just might be tempted to go and look at what else they've got on offer and think, oh, that looks interesting. Lemonada have used this one's wife, not the other way around. Although naturally her narcissism will cause her to try and attempt to do that. The only reason she got this deal isn't based on her talent. It's because she is a bona fide joke person. And Lemonada know that completely. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.